Hi, babies. Time for your bedtime story. Tonight, we are reading, starting out of a new book, okay, called Children's Treasuries. And we're going to read a story called Gulliver's Travels. So it's kind of a long story. So I want you guys to sit back, get comfy, and watch this video so you can see the pictures of the book, okay? All right, here we go. All right, there we go. There once was a man named Gulliver who longed for adventure. One day he set out on a journey to explore distant islands or distant lands. Not long into the voyage, a horrible storm struck. The crew was tossed from the ship, and the waves swallowed them up. They were lost at sea. Gulliver awoke on a grassy shore. He could not move, but he felt something walking up his leg and onto his chest. When he peered down at his body, he saw tiny humans, no bigger than spoons, standing on his chest. He tried to lift his head, but found that his whole body had been tied down with fine ropes. With a little effort, the ropes broke, and Gulliver sat up. The little people began to panic, so Gulliver stayed very still. Soon the little people understood that he didn't want to harm them. The emperor of the little people stood on a platform and spoke to Gulliver in a language that Gulliver could not understand. Patiently, Gulliver waited for the little man to end his speech. When the emperor was finished, Gulliver smiled and pointed to his mouth. The little man saw that Gulliver was hungry and ordered his subjects to serve him enough food for 200 people. After he ate, the people brought a specially made cart. Gulliver climbed aboard, and 900 little people pulled him to their capital city. Although he could have walked, they pulled him. Gulliver was excited to learn about this strange land called Lilliput and its people. He worked very hard to understand their language and to discover as much as he could about their interesting culture and customs. The Lilliputians were fascinated with their visitor. Gulliver showed them his few possessions that had survived the storm: coins, a pen, and his pocket watch. The Lilliputians were most interested in how the watch ticked and what it was used to measure. Gulliver enjoyed his time with the Lilliputians, and they loved to entertain him. One day, he saw the army of Lilliput practicing their drills. They looked just like Gulliver's toy soldiers from when he was a boy. In a nearby field, Gulliver made a stage out of his handkerchief and placed all the soldiers and horses on it. Then he lifted up the emperor in his hand to watch the army drills from above. The emperor was so impressed, he wanted all Lilliputians to see the army practice each day. A few weeks later, the emperor told Gulliver that the Lilliputians were getting ready for battle. For a very long time, they had been at war with the only other kingdom they knew, an island nation called Blefscu. Sounds like you're saying bless you. The emperor of Lilliput and the emperor of Blefscu bickered over which end of an egg is best to crack first. The emperor of Blefscu claimed it was the small end, while the emperor of Lilliput declared it was the large end. Each one knew his way was best. The argument turned into a war. Kind of silly. But the Lilliputians had a fine army, but they did not have a navy or any battleships. The emperor asked for Gulliver's help. Gulliver's job during the battle would be to stop the ships from Blesku before they arrived on the shores of Lilliput. Gulliver set out on his own across the sea. He soon met the enemy ships as they left the shores of Blesku. By simply rising out of the water, Gulliver frightened the Blefuscians terribly. Most of them dove from their ships and swam back to shore. Some of the soldiers shot arrows from their ships, but Gulliver brushed them off like little thorns. Gulliver tugged the Blefuscian ship across the sea to the land of Lilliput. Great cheers rose from the shore as he came closer, pulling the entire fleet of Blesku with one massive hand. Without their battleships, the people of Blesku could no longer wage war against the Lilliputians. From that day forward, the little people of Lilliput called Gulliver the greatest warrior of all time. He had ended many sad years of battle. One day, Gulliver spotted a ship out at sea, just like the one he had sailed on. It was time for him to go. The Emperor of Lilliput gave Gulliver several cows and some food for his journey. Then he thanked Gulliver for all his help. Gulliver was welcomed aboard the passing ship. He told the crew about his voyage to Lilliput. No one believed his story until he reached into his pocket and pulled out the tiny cattle he had received from the emperor. That was more than enough to convince them. See the little cows? On the next leg of his journey, Gulliver's ship sailed into a monsoon and was tossed about for days. Gulliver swam to a nearby shore for help. Next to the shore, Gulliver found a field of tall grass. Each blade of grass was taller than 3 people. Soon, Gulliver felt the ground shake, and he was nearly squashed by a massive shoe. The shoe belonged to a giant farmer who saw Gulliver and picked him up. With an amazed laugh and a big grin, the farmer dropped Gulliver into the darkness of his shirt pocket. Now the shoe's on the other foot, huh? The farmer thought he might show the little man to his friends in town. His friends were amazed with what they saw. To them, Gulliver was only the size of a doll, but he walked and talked like everyone else. Soon, everyone in town wanted to see the living doll. The farmer set up a booth at the market. The townspeople gave the farmer money for the chance to see Gulliver. The farmer told Gulliver to sing and dance as the crowds of people lined up in the streets to see him. Soon the queen heard about the fascinating little man and went to see him. She was very amused with Gulliver and bought the little man from the farmer for a great sum of money. Gulliver was very comfortable at the palace, inside the tiny room that the queen had made for him, but Gulliver was only allowed to leave the room when the queen asked for him. She called for him at least once a day at dinner. Gulliver ate at the queen's table. She and her court enjoyed watching him while they dined. Gulliver soon grew weary of his life in the palace. He spent each day stuck in his room, waiting for the queen to call on him. The queen didn't like to see Gulliver sad, so she ordered her servants to carry him out on walks around the palace grounds each day. The queen also learned that Gulliver had once been a sailor. She had a tiny sailboat built especially for him. After dinner, the queen and her subjects gathered around the fountain to watch Gulliver practice his sailing skills. The king, however, became bored with just one tiny man. So he put Gulliver in a box and sent him with his men to search the shore for little people. On the shore, an eagle swooped down and picked up Gulliver's box and carried him over the ocean and dropped him in the water. A while later, Gulliver's box was found by a passing ship. The crew rescued him as he shared his stories from his adventures as they sailed back home. Everyone was enthralled with Gulliver's tales of Lilliput and the land of giants, and his stories lived on forever. That's it. Tomorrow we'll read a different story. So I want to say, I hope you babies had a good story time and you're all fast asleep. If not, you need to close your eyes and go to sleep because Grandma loves you.
Papa loves you.
And
Great grandma loves you.
Great grandma loves you.
And don't forget to say your prayers.
Yeah, and don't forget to say your prayers. And be good.
Good night, Dana.
Night, Mama.
Good night, babies. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
What?